Okay, what are these? Yeah. So we've got Karen. Say hi. And we're going to go through her example here. And Karen, take us through again, just as a refresher, your marketing objective, what it is that you want to accomplish.
Yeah, so to try to find qualified buyers
Mhm.
that are interested in a rural lifestyle,
Yes.
and also have the capacity to invest the additional money required in
Okay.
order to finish off the property.
So how much is the listing?
It's listed for 1.195.
Okay, and how much do you think they'd have to spend in order for them to properly finish it up?
Well, probably I would say on the low end, 80,000 for a
Okay.
kitchen and deck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they wanted to start refurbishing the barn,
Yes.
could be maybe 200,000.
Right. And if they don't have that kind of money, would this still make sense for them to move, or?
No,
No.
I mean, it has to be somebody that has the money to be able
Right.
to put a kitchen in
Okay,
and a deck.
good. So part of why I'm asking that question is the message that we create for this ad has to reflect. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to attract the right person. So can you pull up the listing itself first?
Sure.
So that we can see what we're working with. Okay, so here it is. That's the address, 10550 Fowler Line, and it's 1.195. And you've got full pictures of it, so maybe just scroll through the pictures
Yeah, sure.
so we can see that. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so this is an aerial shot.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's 77 acres, so that's the property.
Okay.
That's the house.
Mhm.
Some of the grounds. Now the house is empty,
Yes.
other than a few personal belongings. There's one of the owners still
Right.
living there.
So it's virtually, is
So
this virtual
this
staging?
is all
Okay.
virtually staged
Okay.
to give people an idea
Mhm.
of what you could do.
It's really unique property too, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So the current owners bought it in 2017 for 890,000,
Mm.
and they've invested about 300,000. They remodeled it. All the mechanical things have been updated,
Yes.
and very high quality finishes as well as craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't have a kitchen.
Where is this?
This is in Blackstock. It's also a real. It's the other challenge is it's not a traditional sort of layout. So there's on the second floor, there I would call it a master, and this is the bathroom, and then there's another room off. This is off the master, which either could be an office or a nursery, but it's not like there's 2 bedrooms up
Right.
there. There's a main floor bedroom and then a main floor in the walkout. So then this is the walkout area,
Mhm.
and they have a kitchenette here. So this could potentially be a secondary unit. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, here's the,
Okay, there it is.
and then there's the workshop. That's the inside of the workshop, and then there's a loft above the workshop, and then the barn. But the
Mhm.
barn is it's
Okay.
falling apart. But if it was restored, it would just be incredible.
Right, and how have you marketed this so far?
So I've marketed it our virtual tour and
Mhm.
photos through Facebook and LinkedIn.
Right.
I created an event for my open houses I had last
Okay.
weekend
Yes.
that boost the number of people it reached.
Right.
So I can't
So
quantify what that.
what does that mean?
whether
Right.
that worked or not.
So now let's talk about the boost campaign here. You've boosted it to who?
Well, that's it. I
Yes.
don't- Yeah, it was when I was setting it up.
Right.
They're like, "Do you want to boost your ad for
Yes.
$20?" I'm
Yes.
like, "Okay."
Right.
But I had no idea what
Right.
I was doing.
Okay.
I thought, give it a try.
So now going through what we've talked about today, Karen, who do you think is the ideal target for this particular type of a property? Like, if you were to create what we talked about earlier was an ideal client profile or a customer avatar, who would be an ideal buyer? How would you describe them? Who are they? You know, how old are they? What are they currently doing in life?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that they want? Like, how would you describe it now?
I think our biggest opportunity is for someone who is, say, in their late 40s,
Okay.
50s, who may live in an urban setting
Mhm.
or suburban
Yes.
and desiring to, get more of a country lifestyle.
Right.
They love the outdoors,
Yes.
may have toys and things
Right.
that they want to use and
Yes.
use the land because
Perfect.
it's 77 acres.
Right.
And the fact that it is in Blackstock and the 407
Yes.
is going to be opening up there very soon.
Mhm.
So for people who say work in Toronto or other
Yeah.
areas,
So.
the ability to work virtually and still be able
Perfect.
to work.
So what you've done now is you've identified, for example, Torontonians, or like Toronto would be your geographic
Yes.
area. So a boost post to everywhere or anyone is a bit vague, but if you target it to Toronto, now for those of you who have done advertising for real estate with Facebook, you do know that because of certain laws, right, certain legal issues, they've somehow restricted what you can and cannot target because it what do you call it, Fair Housing Act. It may be seen as discrimination depending on the kind of like, for example, let's say you target a specific age group, right? So if you're doing downsizers or upsizers, it may be fair to argue that you're excluding a particular age group and therefore you're discriminating now against that age group, right? Same with demographics, like culture, right? Same with gender. So when you do your targeting, you'll want to look into, if the ad gets rejected, that may be one of the reasons why. And so what we would do is, like, we'll start with a Toronto campaign. Like, I know Karen identified Toronto 40, 50-year-olds and above. If we do that and it gets blocked off, it's probably because the 40 to 50 criteria shouldn't be there. We'll give it a try anyway. We'll see. I mean, through trial and error, right?
So you mean rejected by Facebook? Like,
Yes. But they may do that. They may not let you run it because you're discriminating against
okay,
anybody under 40 or, yeah.
I
Okay.
thought that was their idea to.
Yes, so
about age-
Facebook, the whole point, yeah. The whole point of Facebook is to have that capacity, but because of the recent issues that they've been dealing with, plus to be in compliance with the law. I mean, if you think about it, if you're advertising a particular property and you're excluding people, right, you're going against Fair Housing Act, right, and you are technically discriminating against them. So why we talked about these in the worksheet where your message becomes important is because in order for you to avoid that and still be able to target that audience.
Maybe you're not discriminating against them. Maybe you're just trying to keep to your budget.
I mean, this is a whole other.
Yeah.
It becomes a whole other discussion. I agree with you, Mike. I mean, the whole thing that made Facebook very popular for advertisers is the targeting.
Yeah, right.
But when it comes to real estate, specifically real estate,
Okay. Oh, I
for
see.
anything else, for other products, there is no, anti-discrimination for sports or for whatever, for music or for clothing. But there are laws about discrimination in real estate, right? That's called the
For
Fair
ads,
Housing.
For running ads.
So let's go back to it. Show us the ad that you're currently running.
Okay, so,
Maybe scroll down and
okay,
to show us the current ad that you're running, and we're going to take it
Yeah.
apart.
okay. So I guess it may be a history. Like
Okay.
It's, if I go to post, you'd be able to see it, I guess.
Yes.
So what I ran the ad on was I did a calendar event.
Okay. So that's probably, is it not?
No, that was another
That's
one.
not it? Okay.
Yeah, so here,
That's it? Okay.
yeah.
So did you pay for this particular ad or?
So I paid, and I didn't even, this is the first time I've ever done it.
Mhm.
I paid, when I created a calendar event, it prompted me do you want to boost it? So
Mhm.
I boosted that. So I haven't boosted a post. I've
Right.
posted it. So the boosting was for 2 days, so it was for Saturday and Sunday.
Right. So I want you to have a look at this, and it's a very attractive looking ad. I want you to click on See More if you don't mind, Karen, please. Over there, yeah. So what does everybody notice in the way it is described? Just listed, 10550 Fowler Lane, Blackstock, Flower Line, sorry. Over 77 acres, residence, barn, workshop in the property. Please watch the virtual tour. Join us this weekend. What's the feedback on it? And this is where we start to get critical, so we can run an ad that may attract more response. What do you think?
It's not very specific.
Oh, it's very specific. It's very specific. 77 acres, blah, 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 this and that. Specific to who, though?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Mhm.
It's to
It's not-
the audience.
It's not
To the
talking about the
audience, right?
audience.
So are these features or are they benefits? When you read that, is it a feature? Are these features or are they benefits?
Features.
These are all features, right? So when we talked about the desires and how the transformation, what does this tell us about the transformation of somebody who wants to buy this? Does it tell us or does it not tell us?
Does not.
And I told you, I
Does not.
warned you in advance that we were gonna do.
Yeah, no,
You know,
that's good.
right? Okay.
No
Right?
worries, I'm good.
So here's the first thing that I want you to try in your advertising. Most realtors will do this because we're great at describing 3-bedroom, 2-washroom, 2,100 square feet, double car garage. We're great at describing properties, right?
Mhm.
It only takes just a little bit more awareness to realize that we're just talking about features. How do they benefit, right? How do they benefit us? And so why I'm okay with picking on Karen a bit was because earlier she did a beautiful job at describing who it is who's the ideal fit for this property, which was somebody who's an urbanite, somebody who lives in Toronto. They have dreams, they have aspirations of living out there. But when somebody from Toronto reads this, yes, some will resonate with, oh, it's 77 acres, that's huge, right? But imagine you write your ad copy like this. Imagine escaping city life, right? And transforming your lifestyle into, what would you call it? Outdoor living, country living, right? Breathing in the fresh country air, living on a huge 77-acre lot where you've got benefit is you've got no neighbors around you for, you know what I mean? Right? That's the kind of language that we start using. Now, we talked about either copywriting it or writing it in text or doing it as a video, right? So the next time you're at a property, instead of talking about the features of it, talk about the benefits, right? So yes, you can say the feature, but what's the benefit, right? Huge 2-car parking with 2 additional parking spaces in the driveway, so you can park 4 cars here, right? Talk about what's the benefit, right? Here it's 77 acres, massive 77-acre lot, so you don't have to see your neighbors right beside you when you look out the window, right? Instead, you'll be staring at endless, land or trees, and you'll be able to breathe the country
Privacy
air,
galore.
privacy, right?
Yeah, wildlife.
Wildlife, right? Imagine instead of seeing a streetcar outside, you see deer prancing in your,
Well, and
right?
I have those in my
Yeah.
video.
yeah, right? So that's what you want to play on, right? You want to create, and that's the reason. Do you now see the importance of why we did the activity earlier? When you realize what kind of transformation you want.
And the shop is a big benefit as well.
Yeah.
For
So what's the benefit of having such a shop?
like you can have your own.
So
own
it's
business.
great that you say there's a
Work
workshop.
from
Yeah,
home.
Yeah.
Have your home business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quit your
Obviously,
city job
yeah.
and spend your time crafting masterpieces in your fabulous workshop,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, there's plenty of guys that already have like a small shop
Mm-hmm.
that would love to have
Right.
a shop like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's definitely.
Trade your small shop into a massive, then you talk about the feature and the benefit is if you got more space for your tools and
Oh, yeah.
to get what you want done. Talk about the benefits that they're going to get, right? And so that's, keep this ad, run another ad, but now turn this, and you'll see it doesn't hurt. I'm not telling you to get rid
No,
of the
no.
features.
But you should
What I'm
and
saying
it's
is-
probably good to
yeah.
change it up even
Yeah.
week to week.
Yes.
Because I see a number of scenarios.
Right.
It could be a small business owner who is looking to move his business.
Exactly. So what you described is perfect. Campaign to campaign to campaign. Don't think that you can just boost one post
One
and it'll fit everybody.
slice
This
of
is
everything.
where Facebook gets very good. So in spite of the targeting hindrances that you might get, you'll run the same to let's say Toronto, but the message differs based on who you're trying to speak with, right? And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, and we've nailed it.
Yeah.
Is basically to attract that target audience, you've got to speak what the language that they want to hear.
Yeah, like
Right.
you talked earlier about the barn not being in such great shape or whatever, but I mean, that can still be a big benefit to
Yeah.
somebody. They
So the
want
benefit
barn
is-
there, they can
yeah.
fix it up and have a big barn.
A
so
blank canvas
push
for you
back
to
in.
customize,
Yeah.
right? You come in here, customize it to your own.
Like you did a great job with the house, but I didn't see anything in there about the
Mhm.
barn and the shop.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I'd push that more for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So you're sitting on a great, unique listing, right? Offer it 1.195. You could even play with that. You can say, all of this for such a steal at 1.195. How can you not afford this lifestyle? It will only cost you 1.195, right? So you put a spin even to that there's such immense value, right? All of this is yours for only 1.195, right? So we talked about objective. You want to sell this property, right? And then when we look through this and why it's really handy is I don't have to, I could just go back to it. Ideal client profile, somebody who's living in the city of Toronto right now, who's fed up with the traffic and looking outside and seeing streetcars and all the noise, right? They're 40 to 55 years old. They may, now is the time for them to make a transformation,
If they're coming from
right?
Toronto, they can easily sell their place for one.
There you go. So now you've got a property
So
sale
it's
too.
just even trade,
Right?
right? That's a transition.
Exactly. Aspiration. I want a lifestyle change. I want to breathe the country air. I want space. Right? I don't want to be crammed into this concrete jungle. What challenge are they currently facing? I can't find something unique, right? So now you talk about that. This is unique because, right? And what are the benefits of finding this unique property? How do you bring them from their desired situation to the current, from the current to their desired, right? Buy this property,
You can
right?
also tell them how much they're saving on tax, because I'm sure their condo taxes are a lot higher.
Yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, the $3,700 a year
Yes.
for taxes on
Yes.
77
Right.
acres is.
Add that.
Exactly, right?
That could be another one.
Yeah. And then the hook, right? There's so many that you can play on. And you can run 5, 10, 20. This is where we get really serious. You can run 20 different messages, right? Like portraying one specific aspect of it. For some, it might be nature lovers. They may not want a workshop. So who cares about the workshop? Some of them might just want escape to nature, seeing trees, seeing 77 acres is huge, right? But as a feature, that's only 70. What can you do in that? Can you go ATVing there? Can you go out and, bring your kids on camp nights in your own, forget about going to the campgrounds. You've got your own campground in your backyard, right? So you see how you get excited or you feel it's different than just saying 77 acres. You can sell 77 acres in many different ways, right? Tell them what you can do with those 77 acres. Maybe you could build your own basketball court and tennis court. Who knows what you could build out there? Create your own, sporting complex or whatever, right? And so that's where we get to the message. So now the beautiful thing about this recording, and I'm going to give this to all of you who want it, but to Karen, now you know what kind of a message. Now you can brainstorm the message. Let's face it, not a lot of us are great writers, right? I don't know, like I tell this story a lot, but for many of you, it's my first time meeting you. So I came here to Canada when I was 4 years old. I was an ESL student. Couldn't really read or write English, right? But one of the things that I really loved when I was a kid was choose your own adventure books. I don't know how many of you have ever read a choose your own adventure book, right?
Where it says like go to page 10.
Exactly.
Do that, yeah.
Right? I was starting to worry that I'm a bit older than some of you guys, generationally speaking, right? But choose your own adventures were my favorite. But one of the things that one of my teachers made me do is, go mimic it. You love this, go and try to write it. And so that's when I started to get into writing and the love of reading and writing. But let's face it, at the end of the day, unless you love doing this stuff, we're great as salespeople. Believe it or not, each and every single one of you are great communicators, because that's why you're in this business to begin with. But the moment you have to write something, you get a mental block. Why? Because that's not something you do. You want to convey it by talking. The thing that I want you to take with my point that I'm trying to tell you right now is that the same way you speak could be the exact same way you write this message out. Don't get stuck on, I have to use a certain grammar or language structure, or the English language has to be this. A lot of effective ads today are just very casual, right? They're very, oriented towards who you're talking to. And so when you're writing your ad, forget about the conventions of, what you've learned in your high school or your university or college, English classes. Think of yourself speaking to your target audience and write a message that they want to hear. The same way you would tell it to them if they were in front of you. If you have trouble, record yourself talking about that property and then just transcribe it to text. That's all it is. It makes it very easier to run these ads. What medium? We're talking about Facebook as the medium, right? What campaign assets do you need? So Karen has all the ad assets here. She has the video. She has the photos. She doesn't really need anything else unless you want to go all out and now stand in front of the property and say, imagine building out, whatever it is on the 77-acre property. Or think about having your own, basketball courts or tennis courts. come out here, forget your city home, live out here in the country and enjoy a breath of fresh air, whatever it is that you want to talk about, right? And then the ad budget, that becomes another whole discussion, which we can probably talk about directly, more specifically because of what you want to achieve with that, right? But does that make sense? Does that help you out in terms of this? So to summarize this part, and then we'll try, and of course you and I can talk about this more if you'd like. What I'd recommend here is, the ad is great, but turn those features into benefits, talk more about the benefits, and describe it in such a way that is enticing to the person reading it, right? Make them want to be, make them so curious that they have to see it. That's the hook. Get them so curious about what this property has to offer that they want to reach out and see it, right?
And do you recommend boosting the post, like paying for the boosting?
So
once you've tailored it to what the benefits are?
So here's the difference between, when you get into more advanced ad strategies. I want you to load up. You know how to get to your ads manager? No? Okay, good. Let me take it.
Okay.
So the ads manager, for those of you who are advanced Facebook users, is where you actually where you can create 10 variations of the ad, right? And tweak all the different target settings and all of that sort of thing. Whereas Boost Posts, why they made it easy, it's like a quick hit, right? Let's get people doing posts, and let's get them to spend money by boosting their posts. But the thing is, your one post is not going to reach customizably 10 different audiences because there's only one message to everybody, right? So when you start to be creative and technical with the advertising on Facebook, you'd click up here where it says create, and you would click on add. So now instead of boosting your posts, you would start the same process, except it is a lot more technical. And I do a Facebook ads. This is not what we're talking about today, but there is an actual full 2 to 3 hours of just this, if you want to get into that. Because think about it this way, if you're running 10 ads, talking to 10 different desires or whatever, if you were doing a boost post, you'd have to post 10 times. And so now your wall or your Facebook feed would have the same post 10 times, and people would be wondering, why are there 10 different posts? So that kind of stuff you actually do within Facebook Ads Manager, where you can run multiple different campaigns. So for example, you'd create a traffic campaign. I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of this. And then this is where you start talking about exactly what we talked about today in our framework, which is where do you want them to go to? What is the offer? What is the audience, right? So this is why I had you do that activity, so that when you're doing the Facebook ads, you'll be able to determine, who am I trying to reach, what the placement is, what's the budget. And so everything that you do here, you now translate into this, and then you create an ad out of it, right? And so Karen, that's something we can talk about separately afterwards. Yeah. Any other questions for Karen's example? It's a great example though. And if anything, what I want you to really take away from this, for those of you who are just starting to dabble in it, is, when you're talking about real estate ads and Facebook campaigns and all that sort of thing, even with your traditional marketing, with your postcards and whatever it is, right? Like, talk to the desires, right? Sell your Scarborough condo faster and for more money. Who doesn't want to do that? They don't want sell your condo, in 70, 80, 120 days, and who knows how much money you'll make out of it. We'll just see, right? They want something specific, something that's beneficial to them, and something that communicates to them, right? So for example, now in Anna's example with referrals, right? Work with a Durham realtor who has X number of years experience you can trust, so that your client will have the best move, or the a stress-free move, and they'll love you for it, right? Talk to what it is that they're talking about. So speaking of Anna, let's talk about your campaign now, right? So thanks a lot, Karen, for allowing us to share that example. Your campaign is you wanted to reach out to realtors in various parts of Canada, let's say, or around the world, if it gets to that. Do you currently have mailing lists for where you're going to be putting them into to communicate to them on a consistent basis, or?
Like putting them into my database?
Yes.
I don't have anything specific tailored for like the referral market just yet. Like I'm
Okay.
really just starting that. Like what would be valuable information for them.
Right.
But I'm thinking like neighborhood reports and stuff to
Right.
show like the knowledge of the area.
Exactly. So have you started anything to that effect, or not yet?
No.
No? Okay. So you use iExact as your CRM. What I wanted to show you why I pulled up MailChimp. I'll show it to you real quick, and then we can kind of, thanks so much, will kind of structure a campaign that you can more or less use, right? I'm just going to show you one of the examples of a landing page that I did do on MailChimp and cater to a particular area. This wasn't necessarily for realtors, let's say, but I'm just going to show you how you can do the exact same thing, right? Let's see if I remember my password. Okay. So within MailChimp, you can create landing pages. So
So
the
that was where you chose 3?
oh no, that was multiple different accounts that I managed.
Oh.
So for example, I'll show you one of the landing pages we created in a previous example, which was the Bayview Village. Here it is. So we created a neighborhood landing page for one of the examples of this course that we did a couple of months ago. And it was for a particular neighborhood. When I was doing this for the Bayview Village office, it was for the Bayview Village neighborhood, right? And so I'm just going to use this example as sort of a framework to what maybe Anna could do to attract realtors to join her list. So what we talked about here, as we go one by one, for Anna's example on the worksheet, is your campaign objective is to build a list of realtors throughout the country in order for you to work with them on a referral basis. And your ideal client profile, I mean, that's up to you in terms of what kind of a realtor you'd like to work with. It could be an age of a realtor, it could be just anybody who lives in a particular area, it could be men, it could be women, doesn't matter. I mean, you can break it down however you want. It could be younger, it could be more seasoned, doesn't matter, right? What's their aspiration? Of course, they want to be able to refer to a realtor, to another realtor that is knowledgeable, who's compassionate about clients, who's very experienced and very skilled. And so that's what their aspirations might be. What are the challenges they're currently facing? Finding the realtor, right? So their current challenge is, how do I find a realtor that's knowledgeable and can show me that they know their stuff and who will be willing to care for my clients? How do you bring them in from the current situation to the desired situation or the transformation? In your case, it would be an education process, right? So you'd build out a campaign that would allow you to educate them, right? So now how do you, so this is where you start to step in. How do you make this offer possible using the platforms that we talked about today?
Right, so like, I was gonna do it through video and then obviously like a landing page.
Okay,
So, it has to be something more specific or a little bit more targeted than obviously giving a referral fee.
yes,
And saying that like you service the area.
yes,
So there are different, forms of, like, so I offer to my clients, like I subscribe to what's called like the corporate club.
okay,
So they have, now discounts, and just like other features that they might not get from a realtor that would
Mhm.
just give them like 25% referral.
right,
So aside from like the knowledge, kind of what's like an added benefit
Yes.
to
right.
joining like my network
There you go.
of clients and realtors.
Yeah, and so instead of just talking about the features of Anna as a realtor, you know, I live in this, I live in Durham, I know Durham, I'm X number of years experience, and I've done X number of transactions. Those are features. The benefits are, because of this, your clients will be well taken care of because I will help them determine what the best, you know, moves are based on their requirements. I will also help them out with the move through the benefits of corporate club and what that has to offer to them, makes an easier transition for where they live. And that's how you sell it through benefits. So other realtors that just say, hey, I'm a great realtor, I have 25 years of experience and I've been living in Durham for 40 years and whatever, right? Instead of that, you're communicating to how does it benefit them? How does it benefit the realtor, right? To refer that client. Because remember, you're not talking to the client, you're talking to the realtor. And that's why it's important to identify who your target audience is correctly. Because if your message is geared toward the client, it's not going to resonate with the realtor, right? So when you start doing that video, if you're doing a video ad, you remember that you're talking to a realtor. Hey, are you currently working with clients who are looking to move in Durham? I'll be happy to help them, right? My name is Anna, and I've lived in Durham for X number of years, and I've had this many years of experience in real estate. What does that mean for you? That means when you refer your clients to me, they're going to be in good hands. I'm going to be taking care of them, providing them with full market knowledge about the area, and helping them choose the right neighborhood for them and their family. In addition to that, you know, because of my connection with Corporate Club, and because of my affiliation with RE/MAX and RE/MAX Hallmark, we've got an extensive benefits and perks package that will help make their move and their transition to Durham stress-free, without hassle. And they're going to enjoy this move because I'm going to look after them and take care of them, right? So talk to those, and I'm just making this stuff up on the spot. Obviously, you can polish it.
Yeah.
This is just basic stuff, right? You can polish
It
it.
sounded polished to me.
What's that?
It
sounded polished?
polished to me. I think that was just perfect.
Yeah, thank you. But you know what I mean. I'm just rambling.
No, yeah. that
But
was good.
when you pick it apart to really entice them, that's the difference. If you think about if you've bought anything recently, it communicated to you in such a way that was so resounding
Yeah.
and transformational, and that's what really pushed you.
Well, it's like
Right.
storytelling, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know, like you say, you just tell it like they're in front of you,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah. So present it the way.
saying your service and your experience. and
Exactly.
what your specialty is and how you're gonna look after the clients, and like to talk to them like it's a conversation. That's really good advice. like,
Exactly.
With your ads,
Right.
writing it like you're talking.
Right. So have you done this campaign yet, Adam?
No.
No. Okay. So what we'll do is, as a follow-up, I'm going to go through this with you, and of course with you, Karen. We're going to figure it out. And anybody who wants to reach out to me, remember that if you do want to work with me, there's a lot of homework that you've got to do before we actually start to get into this stuff, right? But the important thing is like knowing that framework now, you'll come up with what assets you need for your campaign. So for example, it could be that video, and it may take you a couple of takes to get that perfect message. But if you've weaved it properly through this, like as a story you said, you'll be able to convey the right message that you need on that video, and then we bring it to Facebook. And on Facebook, we would be targeting. So here's the neat part about this is, yes, it is a real estate ad, but it's a professional B2B type of an ad.
Yeah.
So Facebook won't have any restrictions per se on who can or who can't see it. And so, for example, if I was targeting realtors in Vancouver, I'd set Vancouver as the area, right? And I'd look for titles. So in the criteria for the ad,
Yeah.
real estate. The employers might be Remax or whoever. Title might be sales representative or broker. And so now I start to reach out to realtors in that, right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then so part of Anna's campaign flow might be, once you've targeted to realtors and it plays that video, you've got to have now a hook,
Yeah.
right? What is it that you have to offer more than just a referral fee, right? So for example, Anna might compile something like, a moving to Durham guy. You do work out of Durham. I've just been using Durham as,
Yeah, I do, yeah.
it's a broad area, obviously, but just use that for general example. You might have a book that says, for whatever reason, a realtor out in the West, their clients keep talking about this Durham thing. I have no idea what Durham is. Just like out here, we might not know what
Mhm.
Burnaby is in BC, right? So what would we want? Maybe a quick, like a guide, a crash course on Burnaby, or here a crash course of Durham, of the area, right? Or if, I've compiled a 5-video series that you can share with your clients,
Yeah.
right? About moving, everything they need to know about moving to Durham, right? So now your video introduces you, talks about the features, and then ties that in with the benefit of working with you, but now your hook comes in, right? I'd love to help make your clients move a lot easier, and so I've compiled a 5-part mini video series about everything they would need to know before they move out to Durham. And all you have to do is click here, right, and sign up to my mailing list for you to receive it, right? And so now you talk about Durham schools, about maybe property, like the kind of properties, the average prices in the area right now, right? And in addition to that hook, you may get them to sign up to a monthly newsletter, right, that they're going to start receiving every single month about Durham, right? And so when you're going through this framework about how to think about what the desires and aspirations and transformation are for whoever you're trying to reach, now you're going to be able to identify things that are valuable to them, right? That's going to resound with them more than just, I've seen all kinds of ads, and not to say that it's, cheesy or you shouldn't do it or you should do it. I'm not saying that, but there's one ad that resonates in my mind for East Coast referrals in Halifax, like Nova Scotia area and all that sort of thing. And what they offer in addition to the referral is free live lobster showing up at your door, right? So I know it sounds gimmicky, but think about it. It resonated with me, and I'm sure if you've probably seen that postcard circulating. I don't know about your office here, but when you start thinking about East Coast referral, and they've got fresh live seafood there, that's sort of like a hook in itself. Like, hey, that's pretty neat. It's a novelty. I'll refer somebody and get lobster in addition to my 25%, right? I don't know if you like seafood or not, or whatever. But what I'm talking about is an example where, you know, you give something that something will be able to associate with you. So here's Anna. She's a very knowledgeable realtor about Durham. You know, she's giving me all the information I need. Why wouldn't I refer her versus somebody who's just, you know, here's 25%, right? You're distinguishing yourself between all of the other realtors, right? Any questions about that? No? I know it's a lot of ideas and a lot to digest at some point. This class like always evolves. If you ever attend another digital real estate marketing class, it's probably not going to be the same as this. Like every class somehow goes a different direction and has a different spin. So whenever I do this, whether it's in Ottawa or Barrie or Training Center or here in Durham, right, or even in the offices that I work out of, there's always a different spin to it, and that's what makes it really neat. So if you ever see this on a training calendar in the future and you attend it, guaranteed it's not going to be the same as what you've seen today, just because of the different examples and things that we have. I have a couple of minutes left, 15 minutes for a couple of questions, answers, if you want to see examples of things. So go ahead, it's all yours now. What do you guys want to talk about?
Hashtags.
Okay,
Um,
on which platform?
I don't have a really strong understanding of how that links to things. So
Okay.
I do hashtags.
Yes. Who wants to explain it? Who wants to explain hashtags?
When you click on them, it brings you to like another kind of page where everyone that's used that hashtag, you'll see their posts. So like if you were to hashtag even Remax Hallmark, then obviously everyone that's hashtagged that, I would assume is probably a realtor with Hallmark. So then you would see like your fellow realtors either like listings or activities, wherever they are, it'll go on a specific page there. So if you start tagging like for your listing, let's say like Toronto, Oshawa, Durham, Whitby, houses for sale, then that'll all populate on a landing page. It's like a Google search basically.
Yeah, perfect example, Anna, and very well explained. You explained it better than I could have ever
So there's a lot
explained
of
it.
benefits
So,
then to make
Yeah.
getting the right hashtags.
Yeah.
so here's an example. If I don't know how many of you have Hallmark, Remax Hallmark on your Instagram. If not, you should add it because I do a lot of our examples and there's a lot of great information here. But for example, one of our hashtags that we use is We Move Ontario. Hashtag We Move Ontario. And so when you click on the We Move, oops, you got to log in for that. Let me see an easier example. So here's one of our posts, and there's a lot of different hashtags, right? So for example, hashtag Remax Hallmark, hashtag Remax, hashtag Hallmark Proud, hashtag We Move Ontario. If I click on hashtag We Move Ontario, as Anna said, all of the photos that use that hashtag will show up here, right? And so from a strategic perspective, here's how I would use this in Durham, right? So for example, you've listed something in Pickering. You may put hashtag Pickering, right? But somebody who is, do you have any pumpkin patches out here in Pickering? No?
Oh, like a pumpkin farm?
Yeah, pumpkin farm.
Further
Further out, okay, so bad example. Let's say restaurant. Somebody's eating at a restaurant in Pickering. Across the street, you have what is it called?
like a Moxie's or something?
Yeah, like a Moxie's. Somebody posts Moxie's and puts hashtag Pickering in it, right? If somebody, for whatever reason, clicks on the Pickering hashtag just because they want to explore Pickering, they'll see that Moxie's, they'll see, whatever else is going on, and they'll see your listing, right? Does that make sense? So hashtag, there's a bit of traffic with hashtag. You've got to be current because by the time you post, like if you were to use the hashtag Toronto, within a few seconds, it's gone, right? Because there's just tons of people creating it. So I would look at hashtags like what Anna said. It's sort of like a keyword,
Yeah.
right? And the keyword being Pickering. If somebody clicks on Pickering as the hashtag, they're going to see everything Pickering, everything that's tagged Pickering, right? So if you're promoting your listings and you have a public profile and so everybody can see what it is that you post, whenever somebody's browsing a particular hashtag, it'll show your listing. But in addition to that, let's say you're doing a community event, you hashtag it Pickering, they'll see that community event. And so that's sort of one way for discoverability, one way for people to find you. If you're living in Toronto, there's a lot of these neighborhood names like beaches or the beach, Leslieville, Rosedale, whatever it is wherever you happen to live. And so a lot of lifestyle bloggers and everyday Instagrammers, they'll use a particular hashtag. And if you kind of put yourself into there too, and you're marketing yourself in such a way that you want that visibility, that's where you would use a hashtag, right? Versus not using it, you wouldn't be found other than somebody knowing you directly.
Discover people through it too,
Mhm.
now you can follow hashtags. So if you follow like a Pickering hashtag, now you're gonna see everything that's tagged in Pickering as if that was like your friend. So randomly
Mhm.
when I follow Remax or Remax Hallmark in your feed, when you're scrolling through, you'll see people that you don't even know, but you'll see their post.
Yes.
So if you use those same hashtags, they'll see your posts.
Mhm.
So it just goes out to way more people.
Exactly.
With the hashtags.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Now, is there a fast way to take your Facebook ad
Mm-hmm.
and put it onto Instagram? I haven't done a lot of Instagram, and I know I need to do more of that.
So as far as ads are concerned, once you create a Facebook ad, you can choose whether or not it appears on Instagram, right? So it's different from Boost Post would probably run the same way, but in your ad manager, you can choose the platform,
Oh, okay.
whether it's just Facebook or Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
or maybe just Instagram. I don't know if you can just run it off of Instagram. Never done it that way, but
Yeah,
yes, you
can
can.
use
You can
Instagram.
just do your case. So you can choose what platform it runs on, right?
'Cause it's good to hit both of those.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's different, like you have different demographics, I would say, on each
Yeah.
one. Instagram's
Exactly.
younger
Yeah.
Mhm.
than Facebook.
That's right. Yeah. Good.
Sorry,
Yes.
So I've heard that Google Ads like performs a little bit better than Facebook Ads.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted your opinion
Sure.
on that, along with Zillow.
Okay. What was your name?
Alex.
Alex? Okay, Alex. So good question. There's a key difference between running Facebook ads and Google ads. What do you think it is?
People that are on Google, that are searching it.
Yes.
They have more of a buying intent.
Yes.
Whereas Facebook is more about community, and you don't know.
Perfect.
the ROI.
Yes. Yes. So that's the difference. So whether it's effective or not, or one is effective or the other, really depends on what campaign you're trying to run, right? If you're running more of a direct response type of a campaign or a branding campaign, either one will work. But the key difference is that on Facebook, you're kind of interrupting, right? This is what Seth Godin calls interruption type of a marketing. Just like what TV commercials are, it's interrupting that show to bring awareness to what it is that you're offering. So on Facebook,
That's
you're
your marketplace.
what's that? Yeah, which is different. Which is different, right?
I ran one
Yeah.
ad there in 12 hours. I had
Yes.
2,000
Yes.
views.
Yeah, marketplace is people seeking out.
Yeah.
So Facebook,
Same as
I
yeah,
just want to
yes,
clarify that.
yes. No, exactly. No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
The ad that runs on the news feed is interruption based because nobody's asking for it.
Right.
You're hoping that whoever you're targeting resonates. So let's look at this example for Alex. Let's say you're doing a pre-construction condo, the Pickering Universal City, right? Tower 3, right? Let's say we run it on Facebook and we run it on Google for Google Ads. The key difference between the two is when you're running a Google ad, somebody's searching for Pickering Universal City condos, and that's how they find your ad. On Facebook, they're browsing, right? All of a sudden, they see this ad. They may not necessarily be interested in it, but based on your targeting and your messaging, you want to target a group that may be interested in purchasing here. So it's not to say that maybe it's not to say whether or not they're capable to buy it or qualified to buy it or motivated to buy it. It's just that at that point, they weren't thinking about buying a condo. At that point, they were browsing the newsfeed and looking at photos of, their family, friends, babies, cats, whatever. And then they see the condo here, right? Whereas on Google, it's specifically meant for people searching it out. And same with Marketplace, as you said.
How do you feel about that? Like at first, when Facebook first came out,
Mhm.
I'm thinking, oh, it's my family and friends. I
Yes.
don't want to be like,
Yes.
hounding them for, it's
Right.
business.
Yes.
And what kind of,
Yes.
what kind of person are you?
Right.
Are you to put your Remax out on?
Well, it's the same way as,
So
how many.
I kind of laid off on that.
Right.
But now, as time's
Right.
gone by.
Yes.
And things have changed and there's
Right.
more ads on there and
Yes.
stuff like that. It's more acceptable,
Yes.
I think.
Well, how many of you
I'm gonna
call?
start-
Yeah.
It's funny we're talking about this because,
Yeah.
that's why I'm sitting here.
Yes.
Because I want to learn about more.
Right.
And because recently I've been thinking I'm going to start hitting more on Facebook,
Right.
the ads
Yes.
in a nice way,
Right.
like, in a tactful way,
Yeah.
not tacky way.
It's the same way as you would do past clients / sphere of influence or family friends calls,
Yeah.
right? It's sort of the same way in that, of course, you're not going to blatantly just ask for it. If you don't have that relationship, it's tough to just say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while and you're related to me, but I'm calling you to get real estate business from you. You
Yeah.
ought to be coming from a position of providing value, right? Hey, I know we haven't chatted in a while, but I wanted to let you know there's this fantastic condo project coming up, and I know you told me that your son or your daughter was interested in going to this school. Maybe they're interested in something. Come up with something that you can communicate with that adds value to it. Right. So to wrap up with Alex's question, it really depends on what your campaign, like what your objective is. If your objective is list building, building brand awareness, right, for what it is that you have to offer, and not necessarily an immediate transaction, then Facebook is of course going to work because it allows you to target a particular audience, right? Nobody's really going to type in, well, I'm not saying nobody, sorry, that's a mistake. I don't know how many realtors in BC right now are typing Durham realtor referral, right? There may be, right? And to do that, you would go to the keyword, the search tool planner on Google, which is another class as well, right? However, there are realtors that may want to refer at some point, and you brought awareness to something that they may not have thought about.
They'll
Right.
save it for later
Yeah.
when they need it.
Yeah, on the other end of the spectrum, exactly. And you'll be communicating with them. That's how you list build. On the other end of the spectrum, right, somebody browsing on Facebook may not be interested in these condos, but somebody right now on Google is searching for those condos, right? But at the end of the day, it depends on what it is that your campaign objective is. Is it list building, or is it a direct response, immediate, something that immediate transaction, right? And so that's why we go through this process, right? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes,
Regarding
okay.
like, if you're doing like, if you're farming like a year, can you
Yes.
target just a specific neighborhood?
Yes. Facebook now, if you noticed, has started neighborhoods. They don't have every neighborhood in there yet, right? But if you type in a specific neighborhood, you'll be able to reduce it down to that neighborhood. It used to be that, the most specific level would be a postal code, the FSA part of the postal code, right? So M1H, for example, right? But now you can actually type in a neighborhood, which is even more targeted than that postal code FSA. You can also do it by street, but you've got to do street plus a certain radius. It won't reduce it just down to that street. And for condo buildings, you can't do just condo buildings yet. A specific address for a condo building. Anybody else?
Sam?
Sam, question?
You just kind of walked in. I gotta go send a message to that photo group. It's raining outside.
Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, now's the time.
So
Yes.
when you use Facebook ads,
Yes.
and to say it's not really to collect emails, but you're trying to just promote your property, right?
Sure.
Like, is there a way, like, have you used any other types of ads, like on Facebook, so like messenger bots, anything like that?
Perfect. So the class that I did before this, which was also the exact same class, we went into chat, like messenger chat, right? I'll give you a crash course in 3 minutes on messenger chat, right? If you haven't explored it yet, how many of you use Messenger? Raise your hand so I know. So you all know what Messenger is all about. It's just chatting. It's like a WhatsApp. It's like text messaging, except it's on the Facebook platform. And now you can run ads that go into Messenger. That's what Alex pointed out. So for example, and using Anna's example now, right? Instead of it going to a landing page where somebody signs up with their name and email address and all that, the call to action might be send me a message, right? And so it'll open up Messenger, right? The first level of it, Facebook Messenger allows you 3 questions. And Anna's prompt might be, what would you like to know? And then it would be A, B, C. A, information about Durham. B, how do I refer you? C, whatever. And based on whatever the person clicks, it'll generate a response, right? Now you can go even more deeper into that by what's called chat bots. Many chat, and if you want to look it up, many, M-A-N-Y, chat, C-H-A-T, is an example of a chat bot. You can actually program an entire conversation that based on, just like a choose your own adventure book, as I said earlier, based on what they choose, it prompts or it creates another set of prompts. Based on that response, it creates another set of prompts up until they get to the point. Now, there's good and bad to that. The good thing is that you get to what you call filter out, or you get to segment what it is that you get to identify who it is that you're talking with. The negative thing is that it's not personal, right? Which means I understand, like at 3 a.m., you don't want to wake up and start chatting with somebody. And so early on in the morning, it's great. Exactly. It's an instant response. But it takes away from the personalized chat. So somehow, if you're using this strategy, you've got to get them back into,
Landing page, I think.
yeah, exactly. Or talking, somehow communicating with them, right? So another example of using messenger ads might be, if you're curious about home prices in your area, click here, send message. It might ask, when are you, how soon are you planning on moving? And then choose ABC, 12 months. Okay, would you like to sign up for my mailing list? Yes, no, yes. Sign up. Here's the email address. So there's a lot of different ways to use it. I think it's going to be huge, right? Because not only because of the convenience factor of it, but the fact that a lot of people use Messenger, chat, WhatsApp, text messaging these days. It also reduces the number of steps you need as a marketer to bring somebody onto a platform that they'll actually exchange information with you. The moment they start chatting with you, if you see what your messenger looks like on your business page, you'll already see the profile of the person chatting with you. It's almost instantaneous that the moment they interact with your message, you already identified who they are. Whereas somebody going to a landing page and putting their name and email, you may not even know if that's a real person.
Yeah, they use a lot of fake names.
Exactly.
Fake numbers.
Right, exactly. Here, they're maybe their Facebook profile is fake,
Yeah.
who knows, but more often than not,
That's all
I don't know how
I've
many,
heard.
exactly,
I'm a fake.
just to
But
go
more
around,
common to put
yeah,
John Smith under your name.
exactly, and just to go around to happen to see a messenger ad and wanting to, inquire about it. More likely than not, you're chatting with real people, right? So back to Anna's example about, BC real estate professionals, you'd initiate chats with them and you'd instantly know who they are. With Karen's example, somebody in Toronto, send me a message if you're interested. They click on the messenger ad, and then you can come up with your set of questions, right? What do you like most about this property? The acreage, the workshop, whatever. And then based on that, then you can craft an entire response talking just about what it is that they want, right? So with this messenger advertising, it just opens up a whole realm of possibilities.
So then, how does that, because this is so new and no one's really using it,
Mhm.
how does that affect in terms of the dollar or the cost of lead then?
So that's a good
Is it
question.
lower? Have you tried?
Right now, like as with any new endeavor, it is typically lower cost, right, up until it starts to get assimilated, right? So from what I'm hearing, I listen to a lot of podcasts where it's talking about social media industry news and updates. And so the cost right now to get into the chats is lower relative to what? Relative to probably when it starts to increase, right? In terms of the usage and interactions. So if I were you, start to dabble in it. It is effective if you're doing it for farming, right? Because you can ask questions to that person. It is effective too if you're selling a pre-construction condo. What would you like to know? Price list, floor plans, blah, 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 whatever. And then they click on it, and then you ask them another series of questions. So it's a great advertising, it's a great tool, I believe. And it's chat-based, which is what we as salespeople love, because when somebody walks into an open house, yes, you do give them a registration page, but it doesn't end at that. What do? You start chatting with them. And so what Messenger mimics is a conversation that you would have with a potential client, right? Yeah.
The ads for Messenger, you go
Messenger.
into Messenger to do the ad?
Yes. So I'll show you real quick, and then we'll wrap it up because we can go for hours, right? So if you go to Ads Manager, remember that in the very beginning I talked about, real brief. Oops, leave this page. Different kinds of ads you could run. So there's traffic campaigns, there's lead campaigns. Oh, let me get back to it. Sorry about that. Okay, create. We'll go this way. Create ad. So when you go to the create ad section, instead of a traffic ad or a lead ad, or you click here on messages. You see that? And then you start creating a messenger campaign. Right? So you still do the same. You still go through this. The beauty of this framework here is that you're still going to go through this, right? But now the vehicle by which you're attracting somebody goes into messenger chat as opposed to just leading them to a website, right?
And this is greater than just your number of connections.
Exactly. So this will open up. Yeah, exactly. Because if you're doing it as a business ad, remember, it's your business page that they interact with, not you, right? It's your business messenger that they interact with,
Yeah.
right? And so here you get to type in the questions, the text. Once you get down here, you get to initiate the conversation. Then it asks you, Right? For example, this says, "Hi Karen, please let us know how we can help you." Question 1, question 2, question 3. And then you type in the automated response, right? So you got to go through it in order for you to see how it works, right? But that's pretty much Facebook Messenger ads.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, just to go back a bit in regards to the budgeting for a campaign.
Okay.
Just still struggling with how long I should go on with marketing to see if it's.
For as long as it's
Pretty
relevant.
easy if
Yeah.
it's working to
Yes.
to say, yeah, let's keep rolling with this.
For as long as it's
But
relevant.
If it's not working.
Yeah.
How
As
long do you stick it out?
well, okay. So if it's not working, you kill the ad and you pretty much run a different campaign that you feel will work. So, but I get the question that Mike's asking. Do I wait a week? Do I wait a month? Do I wait a year to see if this ad is working? Once you release the ad, you'll know within a couple of hours whether there's. So, for example, if you're running it 2-3 days in a row, there's impressions, but nobody's raised their hand. What could be the problem, right? The objective is not clear. Therefore, your target audience is wrong, right? The aspirations that you're trying to talk to are wrong. So the desires or the transformations, call to action, or the hook that leads into the call to action could be wrong, right? So now you start to tweak those, right? So if you haven't identified your audience, maybe you're not resonating with the right people. If you haven't identified what the transformation is, then your messaging or what it is, the message that you're trying to connect with people with is wrong, right? If there's no hook, there may not be a proper call to action that results in what it is that you want. So any one of those are things that you've got to start to tweak. If you've gotten lots of impressions, lots of times it's showing up, but there's no results, right? Any one of those things could be wrong or need to be tweaked. Yeah. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Give me your business card if you want to receive these 2 videos. And then, yeah, I'm happy to help you out with anything as far as digital real estate marketing is concerned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.